Hey everyone, welcome back to another video and welcome back to another Workout Wednesday. In this video, we are talking about the fourth discipline, which technically isn't S&C, but I'm saying it's S&C anyway. I mean, technically the fourth discipline is transition, isn't it? I don't even know. Anyway, who cares? We're talking about S&C today. That's what we're doing. I'm going to be talking with my S&C coach, Scott. He's been on the channel before. I'll link to one of the videos we've done before with Scott. Really knowledgeable guy. I won't say too much before I get on the call with him, but we are going to be doing a series on the channel. The next couple of Workout Wednesdays will be a series to go through different things every single week and hopefully be really beneficial for you guys. So let's crack on with that, and when we're in the call, we'll give you a lot more information about what this series is going to entail. So let's go. So here we are with Scott. Normally he's got a face for radio. That's why we do the podcast. But yeah, I've actually got him on video today. Lovely looking chap. So this
I've actually
video,
got my
like we
top
said,
on most of the podcast.
yeah. For anyone who doesn't listen to the podcast, Scott was filming it topless the other day. It was it was brilliant. Uh, so this one we are going to be talking about like some general things with S&C, stuff that Scott has been implementing in my training, to kind of like combat my back issue, and a few other general things. And then we're going to talk about the series that we're going to be embarking on over the next couple of weeks, delving into more kind of specifics with triathlon S&C, which is very different to other S&C programs, which I think is what some people get wrong. So initially, Scott, what is S&C? Let's just off the bat, like what is S&C? Why should people be doing it?
The easiest way to explain it is strength and conditioning is almost like a fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh discipline, whatever you want to call it. I would probably call it like a fourth discipline. I know some people say transitions are the fourth discipline, but I would say that S&C gives you more of a benefit and more of an improvement if you do it properly than what a transition can give you. So that's why I would put it as a fourth discipline over anything else, because it can give you such a big benefit if you do it correctly. And if we look to what strength and conditioning it's exactly the same as why you run, bike, and swim. It's being physically prepared for the activities that you're going to undertake. Everyone should do it, no matter if you train triathlon, no matter if you do football, no matter whatever you do, every single person should be performing S&C to some extent. Um, and I'd say what's different to S&C as opposed to just exercising or training is S&C. You kind of have a bit more plan going into things. Like if I trained for you and we did, right, today this is what we're going to do, right, tomorrow how do you feel? Oh yeah, we'll do this now. I mean, you kind of can't really get that flow of motion and that flow of curve, what we call the supercompensation curve. I don't know if you can put a picture of that down somewhere, but the supercompensation curve is
Yeah, I'll
really
try and put
important
it in.
with all training. So I think that's the difference with S&C and anything else is that you're actually having a program specifically for you in order to improve your physical preparedness of the demands of your sport or whatever you're doing. That's
Yeah, nice. No, I like that.
long-winded.
Yeah. So with like, I guess S&C is quite a new thing in the world of triathlon. I know we've mentioned this before in the podcast. It's like endurance athletes have only just like almost recently kind of discovered S&C. It seems like only just recently found that there's actually benefit to get from it. Um, why do you think that is? Like, why do you think people aren't doing it? Do you think there are specific reasons? Like, are people is it that people are uneducated? Is it because they're like scared of injury? Is it because I think a few like endurance athletes almost assume they hit the gym once and suddenly they'll be shredded and they'll be massive and they'll look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know what I mean? Like it's so. What do you think the reasons are for people like just not doing it?
Honestly, think all of the reasons that you've just said. Um, uh, Triathletes seem to think that I need a coach to tell me how to run, bike, and swim, but I don't need a coach to tell me what to do in the gym. I think uh, coaches are uh, coaches are absolute experts in run, bike, and swimming, but because they're experts in that aspect, they very rarely put their head out and put time into the knowledge of, right, what can strength training give me? Or because they're so focused. Like, if I was to say to you, how do you be a better runner? I guarantee you could say to me 5 things for you to be a better runner without even including like some sort of reactive strength training. Like, there are so many ways to become better at something. And this is where S&C kind of comes in, because it will make you better, and I suppose there are different things that make you better at certain stuff. Like a lot of triathletes that think like, yeah, getting like, if I'm going to get too big, if you're hitting the gym and lifting heavy weights more times than you are run, bike, or swimming, or performing endurance sports, then yeah, you will and you're genetically gifted with a lot of testosterone, and you're having a calorie surplus. Like, to get big is very difficult, unless you're injecting. But like, getting big is super difficult to do. And body like, for generic people that go to the gym, they'll try and put on muscle, and it's difficult to do. So triathletes that are training like 5 hours minimum of endurance will find it even more difficult. So I don't think triathletes should be afraid of getting too big. But what I will say with that is also, don't be afraid to lift heavy either, because a lot of triathletes will go to the gym. And Harry, I know we've come across this and we'll talk about this later on with what I've done with you. But for instance, when I was getting you to hip thrust, for instance, I want you to hip thrust heavy, because the heavier you lift, the more motor control you're going to have of that muscle. So a hip thrust, which I'll demonstrate later on, is is a very powerful glute exercise. Now, the majority of people, if I said to you, right, what's a glute exercise? You need to strengthen your glutes. What exercise are you going to give me? A lot of people will probably just go, squats, because it's the generic thing to do. But actually, you don't really need to squat in any program. If you can't squat, if you don't have the mobility in your ankles or the hips, or you don't have the strength, or you don't have the postural strength to squat, don't do it, because there's loads of different exercises, such as a hip thrust, which puts far more pressure through the glute muscle, which is what I would suggest a lot of triathletes need, is hip extension, which is what the glute does. Then, so there are tons of different ways, but as I've kind of alluded to there, and as you've alluded to, is that like I guess like the knowledge isn't really there for S&C, and I'd say that's just a UK in at whole. I would American football, mate. They have so there's a thing called Normatec recovery boots, and they're basically like these air compression boots. And the NFL have like every single player. How many players are on an NFL team? Like, there's loads, isn't there? Like, the NFL coaches.
Yeah, mate, loads.
Yeah. Like, the NFL coaches have you sit straight in and you put your legs straight into the recovery boots on the coach home or the flight back or whatever. Like, they've got one for like every single player. Like, S&C in America is incredible, because I guess the money involved in it is a lot higher through audiences. Whereas in the UK, I do think we're slightly slacker at it. And I guess that's just a UK thing in total. Like, football is getting better, especially with hamstring injuries, which is the most common cause. And I do enjoy seeing more and more triathletes or endurance athletes performing strength within the gym. But I think knowledge is a big thing there.
Yeah.
Alongside that mental side
definitely.
of, right.
I guess it's also like thinking, Like I'm lucky. Like Lydia and I, we invested quite a lot in all that gym equipment. Like we've got everything we kind of need. Like we're pretty lucky in that respect. Like we've got the space for it as well. So I guess some people, like, they don't have the equipment, they might not have that much space, and it's knowing what they can do to supplement that exercise. So like, I guess some people think they need, all the equipment and stuff like that, and you don't, do you? It's a case of actually maybe you're doing something that it might look a bit weird because you're doing it with just body weight or other things you can find around the house, but it's finding what you can do to kind of mimic that exercise that you would do with a bit of equipment, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, as you said, we're definitely at a harder time now, and obviously as gyms come back open, then it will become easier. And I guess with that, like if you think, right, I need to progress my cycling, you would look to a certain amount of things. So to progress your cycling, you would look at overloading, you would look at progressing, and you would look at adding variety to, in terms of like low cadence, high cadence drills, or whatever that may be. You would look to add that variation alongside that specificity. So you would make sure for cycling that you are performing explosive movements within the gym. And I think that's again like something that S&C is your training movements, not just moving a weight. And So you would work on that explosive strength with cycling for that specificity, as well as doing stuff on the bike. So we now move that into like at home, and what can you do? There are loads of things that you can do for explosive, and being a physio, being a PT, being a S&C guru, honestly, we're all the same people, even coaches. It's a guessing game. Like you're just a better guesser through experience than someone that's only on the scene. Like that's all we are. We're just guessers, really. We have an education, but the main reason why people pay for our ability is that we have an experience, and we have that underlying knowledge, that foundation knowledge, alongside usually a good library in our heads. And what I mean by that is like a good amount of exercises. Like if someone came to me straight away and said, I can't squat, or they showed me their squat and it was awful, I would straight away be able to go, yeah, okay, well, let's try a split squat. Okay, so we can progress that, and that's now let's try a front leg raised split squat. Now let's try a rear leg raised split squat. But there are loads of stuff that we can do. And being completely honest, during a time like now, if as long as you're doing some sort of S&C, um, you're being 1% better than you probably were a year ago.
Yeah, definitely. It's not like, I mean, it is just going to help, like it might not make a massive difference, but if it prevents injury, so it makes you more efficient, or it makes you more consistent in your training, that's going to be better. You're going to get far better. If
Yeah,
it makes you, have the ability to put out more power on the bike, or run and feel stronger running up hills, or when you get back into the pool, you can progress far quicker. Like it's it's making sure it's kind of like aiding your training, isn't it? Rather than kind of just like going in the gym. Because what I used to do, and this, Scott, like I used to occasionally like do a gym session, get in the gym, and smash myself, and then for the next couple of days, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I feel terrible. Whereas actually, it's like it's doing it to the benefit of your other training, rather than just going in and just willy nilly, just going, yeah, I'm gonna bench and pull up and try and get shredded.
yeah. And I think that's the problem as well. Like a lot of books, like I was reading, like Joel Friel Training Bible. What an unbelievable coach! But the S&C bit was probably like 3 or 4 pages, right? And
Yeah.
it tells you to do these like 10 exercises, which are so basic, which I look at and I'm like, it's a one size fits all approach, isn't it? Which we know doesn't work. We know that one size approach doesn't work. So like, what? And why are we doing it? If you sat
Yeah.
down and you went, right, why am I doing this S&C session? Talk to someone. Go and speak to someone with knowledge
Yeah.
on that subject.
Mm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, definitely. It's educating yourself, isn't it? Like, and I think that's almost it. Like what you've said, it's almost like a lack of education and not knowing. So with regards to like a few things that we've been working on, I know a lot of people on the channel, they know that I've been struggling with a back issue for the last kind of number of years, really. and it's kind of sucked. And I've seen loads of physios and whatnot, and like been working with Scott for a while now. What if you could like run through a few exercises that we've been really focusing on, and like the reasons why we've been doing it?
The main thing for you was the structure of your sessions. So, for instance, like obviously at the warm up phase, just ensuring that you have adequate stability going into that session and that you kind of know like what you're working. So, for instance, when we're with the mini band and we're activating your glutes, it's knowing right, that's what I've got to feel in the actual session. And then in the actual session, so that's like the prime basis of the warm-ups are basic. We all know that. But how many of you walk into a gym and go straight onto a bench press? Probably 90% of people. And they don't. Why are you getting on a bench press? So with you, obviously you came to me having seen lots of physios telling you to stretch, telling you to do loads of these like little physio exercises that I guess a lot of physios might hate on me for saying this, but like these little physio exercises should be incorporated into your workout without you even knowing that you're doing them. So I guess that's all I've done with you is I've just implemented those exercises without you really knowing that you're doing them, but making sure that you're concentrating them and you're doing them right, and then assisting that with the big exercises. I've been making you lift heavy. Like I don't want you to lift light. And the biggest exercise for you was to strengthen your hips, specifically your glutes, because you're sat down on a bike for a long period of time. So for you, massively, any exercise in which I think will strengthen your glutes, I've implemented in your program, trying to build up them sets. We've started with a fairly high rep range because that's what you're good at. Being a triathlete, you'll be good at lifting a load through a period of time because that's what you're doing on the bike, run, and swimming. And then I've then kind of slowly lowered that rep number so that you're lifting heavier and heavier and heavier, or I've increased your tempo time so that you're slower on that lift. So if I've got two people, and we're going to take the squat just because it's an easy exercise, and we're going to do 10 by 10. I'd advise no triathlete to do this, but 10 by 10 with a minute's rest in between, and it takes me 5 seconds per one rep, and it takes you 3 seconds per rep. Who's going to get the most strength gains out of them two? Like it's probably going to be the person that's under
the longer under tension, isn't it?
Yeah. So again, like tempo's another way of just fitting that in, and they're going to be the three things that I have done with you specifically. Is target the glutes for glute strength and motor control within the glutes. We've focused primarily on warm ups and getting you activated, and then the third one we've increased and progressed that through various means, exactly the same as we would on the bike, as I previously mentioned, through overload, progression, and variation.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks, man. No, that really helps. I think that puts a lot of it into like perspective for people. So like I kind of alluded to at the start of this, we are going to be doing a series. So this video is kind of like a generic, what is S&C, what are the benefits of S&C, kind of delving a little bit into what Scott is doing with me. And then the next one is going to be a swim specific one after that bike specific, one after that run specific. And then the last one will be kind of like an overall how you can structure a plan, which I think will be like, we're leaving that to the end because that's kind of like, that's going to be the really specific one, is how you can put all of what Scott's like mentioned in the previous videos into practice, and how you can make a really, really good plan that will work in your training. So that's stuff to look forward to. Really hope you like the sound of it. Cheers for chatting to me, Scott. I really appreciate this. Is there anything else you want to mention before we say bye to everyone?
This is a workout Wednesday, isn't it?
It is indeed.
Cool. So workout Wednesday, I've got two things for people to do. just to make it a workout Wednesday instead of just watching this of me and you chatting. But it's going to be 30 seconds, and you're going to perform as many calf raises as you possibly can from the floor. Now, I'm going to demonstrate this. I'll send you a video, Harry. And so 30 seconds, as many single leg calf raises as you can performed from the floor. And that's going to be number one. With that, there's no really right or wrong number. I would suggest if you're doing under 10, then you've probably got weak calves. Under about 10, 15, you've probably got weak calves, something to look to strengthen up. However, again, as long as you're looking to strengthen that area, like if you do 5 reps and then 2 weeks later you manage to do 10, perfect. You've increased your rep range by 50%. And then the second one is as many single leg glute bridges you can perform before feeling back fatigue. So again, all the pressure needs to be within that glute and within that bum area, not the lower back. So I'll give you them 2 things to do, and I'll do a little video and send to you, Harry, just to add on to this at the end.
Nice, mate. Appreciate that. Yeah, so everyone give that a go. See how you get on. Comment what you got to in the comment section below. And we can review a few of them, maybe in the initial part of next week's video. Yeah, thanks so much, Scott. I will link to Scott's Instagram and all his social media handles in the description below. So do go and check him out because he's doing some really cool stuff on Instagram. Doing a lot of mobility stuff, like live videos as well, aren't you? So those are really cool. If people want to get involved in that, just give Scott a message, and I'm sure he'd be happy to help and give any more info that you need. Cheers for doing this, mate. Appreciate that.
No sound. Thank you very much. Looking forward to the series.